Hey guys, so this is officially my first film review ever, so that's exciting. I assume it's just like an album review, but you talk about a film. I took myself to see this movie a couple days ago the other night. It was my first experience in a movie theater in over 8 months, so that was exciting. The whole movie theater was like really empty and I was just like in the very back. I had the whole back row to myself. I pretty much had the whole theater to myself. So let's talk about this movie. It's called Yellow Rose. And if you didn't know already, here's a quick synopsis. It's about a 17-year-old Filipino girl growing up in Texas who loves traditional country music. And she writes songs in her bedroom but has never played them for anyone. She lives with her mom, and the greatest obstacle in their lives and in this film is that they are undocumented immigrants from the Philippines. And one day, ICE, which stands for Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, captures and detains her mom in a facility. So Rose is trying to figure out where she's gonna live and how she's gonna be reunited with her mom. And at the same time, Rose happens to bump into Dale Watson, who is a real country singer and plays himself, and he helps her grow her singing and songwriting career. And there's also like a mini love story in there. Overall, it explores the topics of family, friendship, coming of age, finding yourself through music, and the experience of being an undocumented immigrant in this country. I was personally really excited to see this movie for two reasons. The first being that it centers around country music, which is a huge passion of mine, surprise. And the second being that it is a big win for Asian representation in American media, something I'm very passionate about. And specifically in this case, capturing like the Filipino experience. So overall, I really enjoyed the movie. There were certain things that I liked a lot, and then there were other things that I didn't like so much. So first I'm gonna talk about the things that I did like. So as I mentioned, I really like the fact that the plot is centered around country music, a general plot line that I really enjoy in movies is like aspiring singer-songwriter tries to pursue his or her dreams. Some movies that come to mind are Wild Rose, which is kind of similar, but it's about a woman from Scotland who wants to move to Nashville. A Star is Born with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. I really love that movie. And also like the TV show Nashville. I would say that's my favorite TV show. I really like how these types of movies or TV shows will feature songs that capture the character's experience. I really liked the country music aspect of this movie, and it was like traditional country music, not pop country. So there are scenes at the Broken Spoke in Austin, Texas, where, you know, Dale Watson is performing on stage, and I was like definitely dancing in the back of the theater. But I would say less than 50% of this movie is actually focused around country music. I would say more of the plot is actually focused on the experience of being an undocumented immigrant. This is something I'm personally less familiar with, but I thought it was really eye-opening and educational and enlightening to get a glimpse of what that is like. You get these really dark scenes of Rose's mom being in an ICE detention facility, and she is just reduced to a number and treated like a prisoner, and seeing Rose living in this state of fear and anxiety of being constantly pursued by the US government and not knowing, like the uncertainty and the fear that goes along with that. So in general, despite these darker scenes, I would say it was like a feel-good movie. It really features human kindness. It's basically all these people being really nice to Rose. Not everyone, but a lot of people just like willing to help her out and help her achieve her dreams. Finally, I loved the Asian representation, not just on screen, but as the main character and as the main plot line. As an Asian myself, surprise, I feel really empowered to see stories like mine represented. obviously, I don't know if that's obvious, but I'm not from Texas. I'm not Filipino. I'm not an undocumented immigrant, so a lot of things are different, but there were a lot of things that I could relate to. Growing up Asian American and liking country music, I definitely felt weird about it. If I had seen this when I was in high school, I would have felt a lot less alone. Now let's talk about the things I didn't like. As a little bit of background, right now in my life, I'm really into subtle indie movies that feel really natural and unscripted and slice of life. Like, this is something that could be happening in real life and you forget that you're watching a movie. My top 3 movies, I would say, of all time are Her, Boyhood, and The Florida Project. Those last 2 movies actually are unscripted, I believe. I would say this movie, Yellow Rose, felt quite cheesy and inauthentic and scripted at times. It definitely felt like I was watching a movie because the plot was also quite unrealistic and improbable. Like, what is the statistical likelihood that a famous country singer like Dale Watson is going to happen to walk by and overhear you playing something on your guitar and then just want to help you and let you stay in his bus and give you free recording sessions and a really nice guitar? It kind of sets unrealistic expectations of what it takes to become a musician. Like, of course, luck plays a huge factor, but I know a lot of people who watch my channel are aspiring artists and musicians, and it's really hard. Like, you have to really work and put yourself out there, and people aren't just like willing to listen and help you that easily. So I know what you're thinking, like, it's a movie, that's the point, it's not supposed to match real life, and I guess that's fair. This just has to do with my taste in movies being realistic. I also felt like the characters were kind of bland and not super memorable. I think I'm really into like quirky characters, and I felt like everyone in this movie was like really normal. So tell me if you disagree, but Rose felt like this kind of amorphous character. Sometimes she seems kind of shy and gentle, and other times she seems really bold and confident and sassy. She just has all these traits, and I'm just like, okay. I can't really easily like define her character. And I also feel like she doesn't really evolve or develop throughout the movie. Obviously the plot changes, but you don't get that like deep inner journey that I love. I feel like throughout the movie she's just politely saying thank you to all the people who are helping her. Also, her friend, like the boy, the love interest, he's also a very bland character. He's just like generic nice boy. I feel like the way the conversations were written, they felt kind of like unnatural and forced and like not subtle at all. So that being said, like, I feel like maybe this was intentional. I feel like this is a movie that would appeal to a younger audience. Like, I would take my kids to watch this if I had kids. I wish I had seen this 10 years ago when I was 15. I feel like this story would have been really inspiring to me back then because country music was just something that I enjoyed alone in my room, and I was like, I'm Asian, I could never be part of that world. So overall, I thought this was a really cool movie that I definitely enjoyed seeing. It's not my favorite movie ever, but I don't regret seeing it at all. I think it is a really awesome story that has not been told before in this way. I definitely recommend you go check it out if anything I talked about interests you at all, if you're into, you know, a good story. All right, that is all. Goodbye.